Michael Jordan is not only the best basketball player, but he's the most exciting basketball player to ever play.
Tatum fires away, pumps it in, 51 for Jason Tatum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Big Three NBA Podcast. I am Sherrod Blakely, joined by Vincent Goodwill, and we're just going to leave it right there. Vincent Goodwill. How you doing, V?
I'm doing good, Sherrod. How about you?
No complaints, no complaints. And Vincent Goodwill, by the way, is with Yahoo Sports / soon-to-be ESPN. He will be a national reporter for them based in New York City. That start date and time, we'll just say soon. Don't want to pin him down to a date or anything like that. But, we're going to talk, obviously, with him being in New York City and being a national writer, we're going to talk a lot about just basketball in New York City, specifically the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks, which, again, this is probably the only time we're going to be talking about them much at all this year. The Knicks maybe more so than the Brooklyn Nets, other than maybe talking about getting ready for the lottery. But before we get into the conversation about that and a couple other topics, I want to make sure that you're listening to the Big Three NBA Podcast and that you show some love to the folks who show us love. People specifically about Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download the app today and get $50 bonus after your first $5 lineup. And also don't forget our good friends at Game Time, which takes the guesswork out of getting great prices for your favorite sporting events and concerts. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, we're just going to jump right into it. New York City basketball, Vincent, you are very familiar with that. The two teams, we're talking about Brooklyn and the New York Knicks. Neither of them has won much of anything in the last 40, 50 years. Got a feeling that this is going to be kind of like Groundhog's Day when it comes to that. But where the Knicks are clearly the better of the two. And just where do you see them in the pantheon of NBA teams heading into this season, V?
I think Sherrod in the Eastern Conference is probably their greatest chance to get to the NBA Finals since the start of the 93-94 year, where Michael Jordan retired. The Knicks had just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and had a 2-0 lead before losing the next four. Everything going into that season says, hey, you guys need to make it to the NBA Finals, if not win it all. And they made it to the Finals and lost in 7 to Houston. I'm not saying that a similar script will happen this year, but the road is paved for them. And I think when you look at their top-heavy roster, when you look at the coaching change with Mike Brown, when you look at, Jalen Brunson being clutch player of the year and going to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, everything's paved for them, which also means there's going to be a lot of pressure on Jalen Brunson and Karl Towns and Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, and most importantly, Mike Brown, who's replacing Tom Thibodeau, like with no Jason Tatum this year, no Tyrese Halliburton this year. The only team they have to legitimately worry about is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who we don't necessarily believe in as a playoff team, given the way that they've played over the past couple of years. But I will caution people about the Knicks, at least in some form. If Isaiah Stewart's not hurt in the first round of that playoff series against the Detroit Pistons, are we sure the New York Knicks even makes it out of round one, let alone to the Eastern Conference Finals? So in some ways, yes, this is going to be a season of expectations and everything else. But in other ways, maybe people need to pump their brakes just a little bit.
Yeah, and with that, and that's one of the things that we've seen enough for the NBA to know that you're going to need some breaks along the way that you have no control over if you're going to be one of the last teams standing or win a championship. People forget that first year Golden State made their run towards that first title. They played in a team in every single round that was missing at least one starter for most, if not all, of that series. And that stuff adds up. That's the kind of stuff that, we have a tendency to forget about when we look at just the historical growth and trajectory of franchises. But the one thing you did bring up, Vince, that I think is really important to talk about is the head coaching change. That going from Tom Thibodeau to Mike Brown in a just, broad general sense is not necessarily a major upgrade or downgrade, but considering the success or lack of success that the Knicks have had historically, and considering the kind of season that Tom Thibodeau had led them to, were you among those that were a little bit surprised that he got the axe based upon the success that he had with that team?
If it's only about the success, yeah, you're surprised. But if it's about everything else, then no. Like the reason that a guy like Tom Thibodeau gets fired is because the team wants to fire him. It's not because you come up short in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's not because you don't make it to the NBA Finals when you had home court advantage against the Indiana Pacers. It's not about a particular failure. It's about the owner wants to fire you, and the owner wanted to fire you regardless of whatever the success was going to be or not. They could have won a championship, and it could very well have ended up in the same space. I think with Tibbs, and you know this, he's an acquired taste. And
Yeah.
sometimes you can, and you know that. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing because I think Tibbs did a lot of good things, establishing the culture, getting players to understand and buy in. And there were going to be some other things that played into it too. That's why it's almost like when you look for your next head coach, it's almost a signal of what you didn't like in your previous head coach. Like when Detroit fired Rick Carlisle and went after Larry Brown. Oh, okay, we want someone who's more experienced, who has more playoff adjustments in his, in his bag. And when you're going after Mike Brown, it's like, okay, maybe this is somebody we can work with a little bit more. Somebody who's a little bit more amenable to our suggestions, who's more of a quote unquote player's coach. And that's the light that he's going to be under this year. He's going to be under NBA Finals or else, not or else being fired, but or else being under this light of criticism where he's going to be forever judged underneath the Tom Thibodeau light. Even with the people who didn't want him fired or who did want him fired, they're going to say, you know what, he had his faults, but he at least led this team to places that they've never been in the last 25 years. And now Mike Brown has to come in there and exceed where Tom Thibodeau did just to hold water.
And that to me is really where it gets interesting because, not only are the expectations greater than they've have ever been, well, they have been for quite a while with New York, but you're also looking at a situation when you bring in a guy like Mike Brown that not only are the expectations higher, but the path to making those expectations a reality is as easy as it's ever going to get in the Eastern Conference. Because literally the two teams that were clearly in your pathway, the Boston Celtics, the Indiana Pacers, are going to be down for most, if not the entire season, without their best player. And so I'm like you, I'm curious to see how the Knicks are going to fare because I do think that you're right. I mean, they've never had certainly not in our lifetime, that have they had as good a chance, in my opinion, of getting to the NBA Finals as they do right now. And the team that you made reference to earlier, that the team from the early 90s, that team could get there, but I don't think it was as clear a path as this one is, where you've got like basically the top two players from the top two teams ahead of you are going to be out all season. So that's really important. And when you talk about just expectations and things like that, what the hell do you make of the Brooklyn Nets? I'm trying to figure this one out, V. I don't know. Are they rebuilding? Are they trying to get to the playoffs? Are they trying to position themselves for another lottery pick? I don't know what the hell this team is trying to do.
I think, Sherrod, for them, I'm surprised that they're going this route to some degree, right? They've had success. Let's be clear. They've had more success in rebuilding than most other franchises, right? When they were rebuilding from the Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce trade that, ridded them of all their draft picks, and they had to come back and rebuild with a new front office. And they say, you know what? We're going to get some hard playing guys. We're going to trade for bad contracts, and we're going to get draft picks. Trade for the player, get the pick. And it feels like that's what they're trying to do here, but the rest of the league is hip to their strategy. So they had 5 draft picks this past year. I swore they were going to be packaging some picks to get players, packaging some picks to move up, and they stayed with all of their players. Now, maybe those are lottery tickets, and you're saying cost-control players who are under contract for a number of years that if we hit, we're good. I'm going to get as many chances to hit the quote-unquote lottery as possible. But other than that, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of direction, like Cam Thomas acquiring him, Michael Porter Jr. or acquiring Michael Porter Jr., keeping Cam Thomas. That like this is a jack 'em up sort of outfit that I'm curious what it's actually going to look like.
Yeah, because the players, as you mentioned, I just don't see, if you're trying to build a team that's going to be anything above play-in status, I'm not sure this is a route. And I do think that basically a lot of NBA teams looked at them and all those picks and just basically said, we're going to give you the Dikembe treatment. No, 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 no. We're not trying to get any of your picks. We don't want what you got to offer. And it's a little bit surprising this year because this was a draft that I think most people thought had lots of solid role player type guys. And so you would think a team that has just an overflow and overabundance of draft picks, you should be able to get some things done because you literally have what teams want. But I think you're right, V. I think teams got hip to the fact that, you know what? We're not going for that okie doke from Brooklyn anymore. And we're just going to see thanks, but no thanks. But with that being said, V, when you think about this Brooklyn Nets team, how do you see their future? I mean, and I'm going to give you 3 buckets to jump in, either bright future, bleak future, or blah future. How do you see it?
Probably more blah, I think, until something otherwise reveals itself. You know what I mean? Like you got Michael Porter Jr., who is on a big time contract, and I'm not sure how great of a player that he is now. Maybe you can say he was underutilized in Denver as a spot up shooter playing alongside Nikola Jokic, and that maybe if you give him his own team, he could cook and, you know, everything. There's more room to grow as opposed to Cam Johnson, who is going to be by definition a really good role player, but somebody that you're not going to necessarily give the ball to and say, okay, go get us a bucket, go get us 4 or 5 buckets in a particular stretch. But you already have that in Cam Thomas, who is nothing more to large degree than a bucket getter. Don't get me wrong. I do like Nicholas Claxton. I do like Terrence Mann. I do think those are solid players, acquiring Haywood Highsmith. But those are guys who are solid players around a son that has to be big and bright, a son that is a star player that you're like, you know what? Nick Claxton will be good around a star. Terrence Mann will be great around the star. We got to see how he played alongside Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and those guys. You're waiting on the star to show up, and in the meantime, you have players whose talents are exacerbated by playing with a star, but you don't know exactly what they'll look like without one.
Right, and that's to me that's what makes their future just real murky, in my opinion. Because usually when teams are building towards something, you can kind of see what they're trying to do. Like when the Celtics, shipped off KG and Paul to Brooklyn, you knew that, okay, they want these picks. They want these picks to be really good, and they're going to build around whatever they're able to do in that regard. That's why they passed up opportunities to acquire guys like Paul George and Jimmy Butler and guys who you knew talent-wise were better than what they had, but nonetheless, that wasn't the plan, and the blueprint was pretty clear. And Brooklyn, it feels like this is like a blueprint that's kind of like on the fly, that they're just figuring this stuff out as they go along without any really clear direction on what they want to do and where they want to go. And to me, that's one of the reasons why Brooklyn, I just don't know if they're going to be any better than we've seen, the past couple of years. Maybe, to me, Brooklyn has not mattered in terms of basketball since Kenny Atkins was their coach. When they weren't very good, but they were scrappy. They had an identity. I don't know if this team has an identity.
No, they don't. I mean, look, they mattered when Kevin Durant got healthy, and they mattered when Kyrie Irving was healthy and James
Are you
Harden
talking 15 games? We talking 15, 20 games?
No, I'm saying during that year where they swept the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs, and they were on their way to doing some real damage against the Milwaukee Bucks. Then James Harden got hurt. Then Kyrie Irving got hurt. And it was Kevin Durant by his lonesome. And he almost carried them to the NBA Finals, if not for, his big foot. But after that point, they haven't been relevant because there's been nothing but controversy. You had to trade Kevin Durant. You got some draft picks for him, and you want to try to flip those draft picks into something more. It's almost like this is about the time that if you were trading Kevin Durant and you were trading Kyrie Irving and you were trading James Harden, all those things were going to start coming to bear fruit. It just has not come to bear fruit yet.
Yeah, true. Real quick, just for our listeners, this is just a reminder that this is the Big Three NBA podcast, joined here by Vincent Goodwill, NBA reporter, and we are the Big Three podcast, part of the CLNS Media Network, which is where you'll find the Big Three NBA podcasts, past and present, as well as other great Celtics content. Again, we're talking with Vincent Goodwill of Yahoo Sports / soon to be ESPN. We can talk a little bit about that later. But for now, Vince, I want to get into talking about the Eastern Conference, or what many of my friends like to refer as the Leastern Conference. There is a without question, V, the power is out west. You look at Oklahoma City; they're the champs. You look at what Houston is doing now that they've added Kevin Durant to an already talented group. Denver, they look like they're built and poised to make another run at a title. Minnesota, they low key have been kind of in that championship hood for a minute, and they don't seem to be going anywhere either. And then you throw in the two LA squads, the Clippers and the Lakers, and then you look out east, and it's like kind of crickets. When you think about the East, who are the teams that stand out that could potentially make a run at not just getting to the finals, but could potentially pull the upset of upsets and be the last team standing? Are there any teams in the East you feel that could pull that off?
Not as of right now, to be perfectly honest. It feels like a two-horse race between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. Are there teams that could surprise, teams that could be better than expected, teams that are going to win games just because games have to be won, right? Like Eastern Conference teams play more Eastern Conference teams than they play West. So although you're going to have those cross-conference matchups, they only take up 30 games of your schedule. You know what I mean? Or even less than, I think it's 30 games of your schedule. So you still got 52 games to play within your own conference, and someone, whether it's the Milwaukee Bucks with, Doc Rivers going to be able to, Doc Rivers has a year every now and again where he pulls a 50-win season out of his behind with a team that nobody expects anything from. You know what I mean? Like a coach of the year sort of thing. Like Doc doesn't do well with expectations, but if you lower the expectations, he's going to get his teams to play hard. Like Atlanta, I think, is going to be one of those teams that could come up and surprise because of the personnel moves that they made. The Orlando Magic, because they're young, they added Desmond Bane. They got a little bit of help with Wagner and now Paulo Banchero playing together, even though it's a little bit of duplication there. And Jamal Mosley's a really good coach. You've got Detroit, who I think is going to have a lot of internal improvement this year with some of their young pieces. I think those are teams. It's just a matter of which team is going to rise above the muck. But if you're asking me if like you talk about the Brooklyn Nets or the Toronto Raptors or the Charlotte Hornets, those teams are going to be what those teams are. The Indiana Pacers are going to be a little bit better than what people think because they have the infrastructure of Rick Carlisle, even though they don't have Tyrese Halliburton. But I feel like there's still a pretty big gulf between the top two teams and everybody else in the conference.
Yeah, and one of the teams that you did not mention that I would be remiss if I did not mention are the Boston Celtics. I know. I mean, what's your take on them? Because obviously, no Jason Tatum. That's a major, major, major blow to them. But how do you see them playing out this year in the East? Even though, I think everyone agrees, it has not been this wide open in quite some time.
We're going to find out how good or great Jaylen Brown really is, right? Like, you're going to give him the ball and tell him, hey, this is your team. You have to cook because we need this out of you. Like, I like the acquisition of Ant Simons. I think he's a player that if he's a bucket getter, and I feel like to some degree he was miscast a little bit in Portland, but I feel like with the opportunity in Boston, as long as they keep him, he can bloom a bit. I still like Derek White as a savvy vet. I still think that they have just enough pieces that they can make some things happen and be a competent team. They're not going to fall to the bottom. Like Jaylen Brown's too good for that. We're going to find out about Jaylen Brown. We're going to find out about Joe Mazzulla. We're going to find out how good of a coach that he really is. Is it just going to be jacking them all the threes and playing a game of math, or is it going to be something a little bit different, scrapping some wins together with the personnel that you have? But I think it mostly starts with Jaylen Brown. Like we've been talking about him being in Jason Tatum's shadow, even though he arrived a year earlier, and then breaking out and being Eastern Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP. Now you're number one on the docket. Now you're the headliner. Now you're the number one person that everybody's going to be scouting and trying to shut down. Is the handle tight enough? Is the passing tight enough? The efficiency and the stamina. Do you have the stamina to be the guy 82 times out of the year? That's a lot that's going to be asked of him. I think he wants the challenge. It's just a matter of, is he up for it?
Yeah, that to me, that's the $1 million question when you look at the Celtics this year, because obviously they've had a run where they've been on that short list of title contenders for quite a while now. And this year, there's no question that they go into the season not having that status. And you look at not just Jalen being the one superstar player they have coming back, but you start looking at the guys that are not coming back. You're not going to have Al Horford. You're not going to have Drew Holiday. You're not going to have Kristaps Porzingis. Hell, you don't even got Luke Kornet no more. So definitely times have changed in a big way for the Boston Celtics heading into the season. But again, I think that's one of the great things about a guy like Jaylen Brown. He's been one of the guys that we've seen throughout his career seems to meet the moment and meet the challenge when it's presented to him. And it'll be interesting to see whether he can do that when he doesn't have his main guy, Jason Tatum, riding shotgun with him as well. Before we go any further, just wanted to give a quick shout out to our good friends at Prize Picks, which is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks have made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players, esports, soccer, you name it. Prize Picks has you covered. They also invented the flex play, which means you can cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, again, even if you don't have a perfect matchup. How do you do it? It's very, very simple. You just download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, you download the app today and use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Also, we want to give another shout out to our good friends at Game Time. And this is, I'm a big fan of Game Time because it's college football season and I absolutely love me some college football. And even though my good friend Vincent Goodwill didn't exactly go to a Power 5 school, Eastern Michigan, they play a little football too. I know that they're going to be playing at Kentucky as we tape this. And I'm just happy for them. That's one of those games where I know Eastern Michigan is getting a little extra something check-wise for that game, but they might get the W as well. That's what I'm talking about. And if anyone wanted to go see that game, Game Time app would make it super easy and super simple for them to get there at a relatively decent price. Game Time has the ability to just unlock amazing ticket prices and experiences with just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Again, it's easy to find and buy college football tickets and again, tickets even for non-college football events. I know I'm low-key, I'm a big fan of Doechii, the rapper, and I know she's coming to Boston. And I've already looked into tickets, and I'm going to probably wait till it gets a little bit closer to event time to make that purchase. But I know that through Game Time, I can make that purchase, and it'll be an amazingly awesome price. You have the ability to, again, you can customize your look and experience with Game Time. You get the views that you have through the app. You're able to see where your seats will be before you make the purchase, so you can get a very clear vision of what the sight lines look like for the event or the concert or whatever it is that you're looking to partake in. Again, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying college football tickets. And the way you get involved is real simple. You download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. There you have it. Download the Game Time app today. Again, we are joined by Vincent Goodwill of Yahoo Sports, soon to be ESPN. And Vince, before we go any further, let's just get some clarity on what's happening. You are currently with Yahoo, but you will be moving to ESPN sometime in the coming days and weeks. Speak a little bit about just the transition that you're going through now, because I mean, you're still going to be a national reporter, just with a different platform. And just speak to what people should expect to see from you in this similar but different role.
I think we're going to all find out together what we're going to see. Clearly, it's going to be a lot of New York Knicks and Brooklyn Nets and a lot of Eastern Conference stuff. But of course, with ESPN's vast platform, you'll hear me on podcasts, you'll see me on SportsCenter, you may see me on morning television or NBA Today or whatever it is. But it's just joining a great team of ESPN reporters and insiders and covering the league as a whole, and hopefully being able to add in the space of commentary, add in the space of coverage, add in the space of, all the things that ESPN as the worldwide leader provides.
Yeah, and for full disclosure and full transparency, I have known Vincent for too many years to give you a number. And I love the fact that he's getting this opportunity to really continue to grow and amplify his voice, his thoughts, and his ability to cover the NBA. He's one of the best in the game. Love this brother to death. And he is probably surprised to hear me say this because I'm usually on his ass about this, that, and the other. But we getting into that point, man. We gotta give each other flowers when they got it coming. So keep doing your damn thing. Much respect to you and continued growth, success, and just keep doing the damn thing.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Before we get out of here, though, I want to play a little game with my man. As you know, most people realize last year I've seen a significant people, if you will, in terms of the Boston Celtics roster. Lots of players taking their talents or being shipped out to other locales and NBA cities. And I want to play a game with you, V, I call this starting five. I'm going to give you 5 former Celtics or soon-to-be former Celtics who are going to be taking their talents to another team this season. And I want you to give us a sense of who do you think will make the biggest impact on winning for their new team. And I've got Marcus Smart with the Los Angeles Lakers, Drew Holiday with the Portland Trailblazers, Kristaps Porzingis with the Atlanta Hawks, Luke Kornet with the San Antonio Spurs, and Al Horford likely to be Golden State Warriors. We'll get this damn good stuff worked out. Which of those guys, of those 5, do you think will make the biggest impact on winning with their new team?
I may surprise you a little bit when I say Kristaps Porzingis, because I know that attendance isn't necessarily Porzingis' strong suit over the past couple of years and throughout his career. But when he plays, he is so dynamic, especially.
Did you just say attendance? Did you just say attendance has not been great?
I mean, that's what it is, right?
Facts. Keep going, my bad. Keep going.
No, I don't mean like attendance like Kawhi Leonard just not showing up to stuff. I mean, like legit, he's been hurt. He's been battling injuries. But when he was with Boston, he turned the Celtics into a championship team. He added an element of versatility, of scoring, especially of defense at the rim, that it put everybody else in their rightful positions, that they didn't have to do too much. Like you could see a discernible change between pre-Porzingis and when Porzingis got there. So I wouldn't be surprised. Not saying he has a similar effect or the exact effect with the Atlanta Hawks, but the Hawks have young guys and young defenders in addition to Trae Young. We haven't seen Trae Young lead real winning since that 2021 season where he led them to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been sputtering since then. They've been the play-in superstar since then. If there's a team in the Eastern Conference that has a chance to legit make an elevation into an upper echelon, it would be them when you look at some of the personnel, Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and you already got Jalen Johnson, who was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Like you have some guys, Dyson, like you got some guys there, and all you need maybe is Porzingis to be the guy who glues all the pieces together.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I was a little bit reluctant to put my chips on Porzingis for this question, because his availability has always been the biggest question mark as far as the ability to elevate a team. The Celtics had the load management game going with him from day one, and even though it didn't work out as well as they would have liked, it worked well enough when it needed to work. When he was, missing playoff games, but he showed up for that one game against the Mavericks and was killing it for like 5 minutes. And that's all they really needed from him on that particular night to get that win. And that, to me, that's what his value is going to be to those Hawks. Can he, when he is available, can he be the next best player on the floor to Trae Young? Can he be that good? And we've seen enough of Trae Young, and I don't know how you feel about him as a player, but this probably might be the most underappreciated future Hall of Famer in the game right now. Because you look at the numbers he puts up, there is no way you can deny this brother being in the Hall of Fame. He's a 2010 guy. How many 2010 guys that damn little in this day and age of the NBA can we honestly look at? And for him, I think Porzingis, if Porzingis can help them get to the conference finals or NBA finals, Trae Young's legacy dramatically changes. All he needs is one good playoff run to change that. But
you asking for a lot.
I know. It is a lot. But you know what, though? To your point, though, when you look at the additions that they've made and you look at Johnson's probably going to get better, they're positioning themselves to at least be a team that you got to worry about. Another team that I'm personally looking to see what they can do this year is the Detroit Pistons. Cade is a bad man. He is a bad man. And I think that they're going to be a team that they're going to, at a minimum, they're going to put the fear of who in a lot of teams this year because they're that good. But for this particular question, though, I'm going to go with I'm torn between Marcus Smart and Porzingis. Marcus Smart, because even though he's not clear the first or second, maybe not even the third best player, he might be the most important because he's the only guy that you can look at on that Lakers team and say he's a pretty good defender. That is going to be I think he's going to have to embrace the fact that what he does best needs to be what he does like damn near all the time. They don't need him shooting corner threes. They don't need him to be trying to break people down. They need him to be defending at a ridiculously high level. If he's able to do that and he embraces that role of being more or less, I wouldn't even say a 3-and-D guy. Just be a D guy. Forget the 3 part. Just be a D guy. He could make a major impact on the team because even as we look at less weight Luka, I still am not sold on him as a defender. I mean, he may be slimmer, but that doesn't mean he's going to necessarily move better. And we've seen enough guys on the defensive end of the floor that even when your body is good enough to defend at a high level, is your mind ready to do that? Are you willing to make that type of sacrifice? And I don't know if Luka is there yet, but Marcus Smart, I'm probably leaning towards Marcus Smart as the guy that I think of the former Celtics who's going to make the biggest impact because to me, he's the one guy that, frankly, he's got the easiest job, and that is due to one thing that you do well. And literally, if you do that, the Lakers are going to be ecstatic with you. With Porzingis, he's going to have to do some things that he normally don't do, like attendance. He is not winning perfect attendance award ever. And then you look at Luke Cornett in San Antonio. He may play a little bit, but he's not going to give you what Wemby does. And Wemby, depending on when he's ready to get up and running, he's not going to be able to fill that void. And Al Horford, great leader, still got a little game, but you playing with Steph, you playing with Jimmy, you playing with Draymond. I mean, your impact isn't going to necessarily be to the extent that it's going to significantly impact winning. So to me, it's either Porzingis or Smart, and I'm gonna lean in Smart's direction on this one. But
I'm trying to figure out look. When Marcus Smart left the Celtics got better.
I hear what you're saying, and what you're saying is true. But they got better because they were able to get better players to fill that void. Like if you lose Marcus Smart, that's a blow. You bring in Drew Holiday, that's an upgrade. We call that an upgrade. When you go to LA, you gave Marcus Smart, and you get a slimmer Luka. That's not necessarily going to make you a better team defensively. It should, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that. I just think if Marcus Smart can do the things that he has historically done at a high level, the Lakers are going to be a better team. Are they a championship caliber team? I don't think so. I just think there are too many better teams ahead of them in the pecking order. But I think Marcus Smart takes them, in my opinion, from being kind of a borderline playing type team to one that's fighting for one of those last playoff spots in that 5-6 conversation. And if things break a certain way, maybe they can get as high as home court in the first round. But that to me is the ceiling for them. I don't think they can do. And even if Marcus has a phenomenal season, Luka's MVP candidate, and LeBron once again keeps Father Time locked in the closet, trying to get out, I just don't see them being much better than a 4th seed. But again, he's definitely going to help them. But to your point though about Porzingis, so much depends on him being available. I mean, because if you could tell me right now, Kristaps Porzingis is going to give me 65 games this year, absolutely, he's the guy. I would take. I mean, hell, he might be most improved player in the damn league because him playing 65 games is a major improvement for him.
Right.
But I don't feel good about that because there's very little proof that he has shown to this point that makes you feel confident that he's going to be that healthy. And the thing about Atlanta, I think a lot of it comes down to what it came down to Boston. What are you giving me in the playoffs? If you miss, let's say, 50 games in a regular season, but you're healthy for the entire playoff run, I'm feeling good. I'll take that deal because that means that you're going to be at your best when the games matter the absolute most. And that's the thing about Porzingis that I don't have a feel for. I don't know if he's going to be the player that I need him to be when I truly, truly need him to be that guy, which is the playoffs. So, interesting stuff that we're looking at here in the Eastern Conference. And again, just for folks who are just tapping in here at the very last minute, we're talking with Vincent Goodwill of Yahoo Sports, soon to be ESPN. And we're just having a conversation about just the Eastern Conference. We're talking about former Celtics who are doing their thing elsewhere. And before we get out of here, just want to let folks know who listen to this that we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those who are watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the CLNS Media and Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and lots of other really awesome Celtics content. And one more thing, please make sure to turn on your notifications so that you can know the instant a new video like this one drops. For Vincent Goodwill Jr., I'm Sherrod Blakely, and this is the Big Three NBA podcast. I couldn't go the whole show without saying giving your pops his props. I couldn't do it, V. Couldn't do it.
I'm glad you resisted the urge until we were signing off.